printing on the A sheet, you're always printing as a mirror image because this is the sheet that's going to go down onto the garment. So you're always printing as a mirror image, and then you're always pressing it together with the B sheet. And not everybody, not most of these softwares don't really have an option to mirror print. So if you're like printing out of Acrobat or something like that, mirror printing is not an option. The printer drivers for these printers don't have a mirror print option. So you pretty much have to open your artwork and mirror it before you print.
Right.
So for that reason, printing on the B sheet can be a little bit easier. And one of the things that we have found is that these color sheets have some temperature variations in terms of how you work with them in the heat press. And we found that if you print on the B sheet, you have more consistency in terms of being able to utilize, one temperature for all colors. So it does it does kind of a pre-fusing of the toner with the adhesive when you send it through the laser printer, and so you're not really so worried about the adhesive toner issue, and you're more just looking to get the bonding with the coated sheet. So for that reason, we're kind of tending towards printing on the B sheet when you're using these low-cost, inexpensive printers. Now, when you're printing with a higher-end printer, this is an adhesive sheet. So you're sending an adhesive sheet through the printer. And a lot of people, don't want to really risk sending an adhesive sheet through an expensive printer. I mean, if it's an $80 printer, what the heck. But I mean, for the expensive printers, people are tending to print on the A sheet, which doesn't have any adhesive coatings on it. But let me start. I'll do examples of both. All right. And so this is a mirror print, and we're going to now press this with the B sheet. So we line these two up, and so you'll kind of pick that up as you go. So what you want to do is kind of get a feel for how these heat presses will vary. One of the things that we find when we're working with these lower cost printers is that we're dealing with a customer base that's typically also working with a lower cost heat press. Usually it'll be like a clamshell type of press. And so for those kinds of presses, a couple of things come into play. One is that you want to make sure that they've preheated the heat press. So they need to close it. They need to have it set for the right temperature and the right pressure. They need to close it down completely and heat up that lower platen. This is one of the reasons that we like these swing away heat presses, because the heat stays over the lower platen all the time, so it always stays hot. You want to make sure that this is hot. This whole plate is really hot. So you take it off, you take a cloth and you just rub it real hard for a second or two, and then you grab a corner and you keep it flat, holding it down real flat on your heat press, where it's staying over the heat, and you're peeling it in a firm but kind of steady fashion. So what happens during this peeling process, that when we're peeling this, as the B sheet is peeling through, say, this middle section of the design, I've got a lot of toner here, and there's a lot of pull against me as I'm trying to peel it away. All right, so I've got a pretty firm motion in that peel process, against all of these, this toner area, and expecting that as you get towards the end, you're going to have less pull already. then you ease off the pull a little bit. And you just kind of slow down, less pressure, till it finally, you just let it fall off. So that was printing with the A sheet, all right? So now let's do the same. It's a little seahorse kind of thing. A lot of detail in this. So I want to select the print option for that. I'm going into my properties and I'm going to change from my settings for so I'm going to print on this B paper. So basically all the settings are the same. The paper type, in this case, I'm selecting the heavy option. The toner adjust is still the same. So I've still got it set to put down the maximum amount of toner. So the only difference is that my media type is set to heavy instead of transparency. Print on the, on the B paper itself.
It's the right reading too.
Yeah. If you're printing on the B sheet, you just print it as like it's a regular print, because it's actually going to get mirrored when it goes onto the foil sheet itself.
Right. Got it.
So for example, let's say I'm going to do a red seahorse. Okay. Got my A sheet down, my lower platen is hot, and I position my print sheet on top of this. And then, all right, so one of the things, let's look at this, okay? So we know kind of what to expect, all right? So I can see that I've got these tiny edges that I'm going to encounter. So if I'm going to peel this away, I'm going to want to see, that when I'm peeling in this area, I'm going to have some resistance, and then I'm going to have these real tiny edges afterwards. So I kind of want to anticipate that so that I don't, I take it nice and easy through that part of it. If you're not getting consistent results with the press that you're working with, so you can stop halfway, like say we're here, and you can go in and you can flip it around and then continue on. And if you're having issues with maybe your pad on your press is not even enough, or you've got one spot that you're consistently having some trouble with, if you just stop halfway through and turn it around and then continue pressing at that point, then that's something that oftentimes can be used to solve those kinds of problems. And so then again, I want to rub this just a little bit, and then I want to grab this corner and I want to keep it down flat. And then peel this off. So here's a little bit, all right, and this is, I think this is, along with, this is another one of these downloaded designs, off of the internet. There's a little bit of this half toning that's done by the printer. I think that's kind of the same thing that, that you're seeing here.
Right. That's similar what we experienced with our scenario, maybe.
Yeah, and this is just really strictly not enough toner off of this part of the image to really, to really bond. But in general, I think this is still very much a usable print. So let's put it on the shirt and see. Now, we always have these little lines around the edges.
Yeah, you cut those off, I remember.
So you just trim all 4 edges all the time. thing with my little dog print as well. And I'll just put these both on the shirt at the same time. There we go. And so the thing wrong with dogs will go here, and my seahorse I'll put here. And I'll just cover this with a sheet of parchment. And so now we go from the medium high pressure to higher pressure. So now we've got, really high pressure. So 30 seconds. And then we take them out to cool off. So these typically would just go into a pile, and come back and pick them up after you've pressed the batch that you're working on. So I've got a little piece of aluminum guardrail that I use to really cool them down completely. It's just a piece of metal. So now the peeling is real important as well, because you can grab a corner and you can just start pulling this off, but usually, especially with this product, you're going to be doing designs that have really intricate detail. So what we recommend that you do is to turn over a corner and get a real tight roll, so that you're just rolling it off with just a really, really tight roll. And that gives you so much better release, because you're literally shearing away the sheet from the shirt. We've got a nice shear away of everything, from the shirt itself. And then the same thing for my little red. Especially, see these really fine lines that we're working with in this design. Sorry about the top of my head there. But if you just shear it away, it comes away very nicely. And then something that you can do, all right, something you can do, but you don't necessarily have to do it, is that, on a lot of these kinds of designs, especially with some of the metallics and some of the colors, is that there'll be a little bit of the edges that will retain some of the coverings. Now, those pieces don't have any adhesive behind them, so the first time that you wash it, they'll come off, and you'll have this really crystal clear result. But if you want, if you want your customers to if you want to deliver with a real crystal clear result, then you can just simply cover it with a piece of transfer adhesive, press that down, and then just peel it away. And here you can see on the adhesive, and then the same thing on the metallic side. But you can see on the adhesive how it's picked up those little edges. Can you see that? Yeah, so that gives it that cleans it up nicely. And then the same thing on the metallic side, pulling off any loose bits there as well. Okay, so now we finished pressing this, and what we're ready to do now is to finish it. back into the heat press, because the design, you know, it's still sitting up high on the shirt. So you want to put a piece of parchment down, again with high pressure. You'll get it pressed down into the garment fibers to give you your best durability and your best long-lasting result. So now, if you look at that, you know, you can see it's really, you can see the fibers of the shirt showing through the design. So that gives you your best durability, your best results.